I got a bucket of chicken, and I'm here to kick ass.
Come to daddy. Boink, bonk. You like that, Chuckle Nuts? Oh, this ain't good.
Crack it.
Hello my dear viewer, I know you're wondering what you got yourself into, but don't worry, it's just a titty vid. I know it's been a hot minute since I've posted, and, well, my last content wasn't exactly... yeah, we're not gonna talk about that. You know what though, a thought occurred to me a couple days ago when I was running from the police. Wait, what? I've seen an absolute metric ton of those silly versus videos lately. So-and-so versus so-and-so, anime versus anime, the wolf from Puss in Boots versus Disney, and one of my favorites, One Punch Man versus Goku, that sort of stuff. And it's really funny how upset people get over that last one. Seriously, people get absolutely fuming about that. So naturally, I got curious about some Tf2 characters versus other things. But lo and behold, I couldn't find anything except Tf2 versus Overwatch and Fortnite versus Tf2. God rest their souls. Anyways, that's what this video is. I don't see anyone else making hypotheticals about how our beloved mercs would clash against other beings in goofy scenarios. And so I decided, you know what, fine, I'll just do it myself. So yeah, let's get into it. Now, I didn't come up with this idea. There was a video a couple years ago that was 1 billion lions versus all of the Pokemon. And that's basically the inspiration for this video right here. So, before I get to the specifics, the strengths, weaknesses, and all the details about both parties, I would like to discuss the battlefield they will be fighting on, and the circumstances in which this battle will happen. I do think the best battlefield for this specific scenario would be the super flat world of Minecraft. Not only is it infinite in size, being definitely large enough to hold 1 billion lions, it actually has occasional shelter in the forms of houses and other structures placed around the land that both parties can take, shelter in if they have to, during the night or during storms. For this, we will also say that hostile mobs do not spawn throughout the world, only normal mobs spawn, which provides enough food for both the lions and the mercs. That's what they're called, mercenaries, yes. So there's enough food and water for both of them. We're also going to say that the lions are absolute gamers. What that means is that they're vehemently trying to kill their enemies, the mercenaries, and they don't reproduce ever. Because I feel like if they were able to reproduce A, they would reproduce faster than the mercenaries could kill them, there's 1 billion of them, and B, it would be more like the Tf2 Mercs versus 4 billion lions, or, it depends on how fast they reproduce, of course, but it wouldn't stay true to the name. So for the sake of this, I'm going to say they don't reproduce, and they are working together. They don't cannibalize each other, they don't fight each other. They just work together collectively to try and kill the mercenaries. Starting with lions, they definitely don't play. They're your favorite African, gazelle-eating, calorie-thieving, nap-seizing, smelly-peeing, giant kitty cats. And they're nothing like the cats you adopted to accommodate for your lack of friends. These cats weigh up to 550 pounds, that's 250 kilograms, stand 4 feet high, 1.2 meters, and they're as long as 3 meters, their tail not even included. For you filthy American babies, that's 10 feet. Now, these cats are packing the gear to go along with their attitude. And don't doubt it for a second, if you were to mess with one of these guys, they would easily put the smackdown on you, end your hardcore run permanently. In terms of weaponry, claws and teeth are about as far as lions go. Sure, it's not super complicated, but it doesn't need to be. They get the jobs done. Their claws are up to 1.5 inches long or 3.8 centimeters, and you best believe that they're keeping themselves strapped. They maintain and care for their claws like most other cats. They keep them sharp, so unless you want to learn the bad interpretation of getting opened up and eaten, I recommend you keep your distance. As for their teeth, well, obviously they're long and pointy. I wasn't able to find a single number for their bite force, but I got between 650 and 1000 psi. Consider this though, that the average human can take off fingers or tear your throat out with their bite if they absolutely have to. And that's with a bite force of 150 psi. So not only is their jaw at minimum 4 times stronger, but they also have mean ass teeth, almost as bad as your little siblings, and I guarantee you it'll hurt at least as much as that. But to be honest, they might not even need to cut you up. Their paws are so thick and heavy, they could seriously just club you to death with their paws alone. Did you think that was it? Oh no. These are wild animals with crazy high proportional strength, able to jump 12 feet vertically. I think that's a little higher than any human ever. Throw in cat-like reflexes, agility, their amazing eyesight in low light conditions, their top speed of 50 miles per hour, and finally their killer instinct. These creatures would be a tough opponent for absolutely anyone, and surely our mercs would definitely have their work cut out for them handling so many. However, our mercs would be using ranged weaponry. It's not like they'd be doing hand-to-hand combat, right? Well, let's see how good lions do against guns. Surprisingly well, actually. Of course, when it comes to getting shot, the type of gun and location hit matters most, but lions seem to be able to push through being shot a lot better than most things would. I even found a news article claiming that a lion that got loose in North Carolina killed a lady, then took the police 8 shots from a 12-gauge shotgun to take down. Even then they still weren't sure, and put one more into its heart. I wasn't able to find any other articles on it, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised. Considering how well the rest of the lion's stats and traits hold up, there was one incident, though, that is definitely true. In the 1800s, where 2 lions known as the Tsavo man-eaters, they ate some men, an estimated 135 men. The men, they were trying to build a railway through some isolated area, and at night, the lions would come to their tents, and they would drag them into the night screaming. So, yeah, pretty horrific, huh? But still not as horrific as the things the Tf2 Mercs have done. They're dirty, they're dastardly, they're deadly, and they're who we're all rooting for! And as you'll find out soon enough, they're pretty OP. I'm going to begin with Demo Man. Starting with his weaknesses, for one, his reliance on alcohol is going to be quite the hindrance to him and his team. They only have what they need in this battlefield, and no more, no less. That means they won't have alcohol because they don't need alcohol to survive, and as far as I know, they're not going to have a way of brewing it. I don't remember any parts in the lore where it says he brews his own cheap whiskey or scrompe, so his soberness is going to mess him up for a while. The second weakness Demo Man has is the slowness of his projectiles, both his pipe launcher and his sticky bomb launcher. Relative to bullets, his explosives move quite slow. However, I would say that that's where Demo Man's weaknesses end, since he shoots explosives. Even if he misses, his explosives affect a large area, he's likely to get kills anyways. And of course they do huge damage, much more than a bullet would do. Obviously having something blow up right next to you is going to mess you up, even if you have the stats of a lion. Of course, Demo Man also has some pretty good melee options. For one, he's able to hit you with a bottle and it hurts about as much as getting blasted with a shotgun at mid-range. And secondly, he could equip a giant fucking axe and just cleave them in half, or he could equip the Eyelander, take their heads, and become even stronger, faster, and better. So yeah, Demo Man, even being a chronic drunk, he is not one to scoff at. You mess with him, he will mess you up. Alright, next up, since I'm just following this image here, it's Engineer. He is an absolute powerhouse. There's no jokes to be made about it either. His weaknesses mainly consist of himself. He's a bit weaker than many of the others, he doesn't have any ways to deal crazy damage with explosives or miniguns, and he's just pretty average dude, you know? He wields a shotgun though, and a pistol, both of which can do some damage, and more importantly, his sentry gun. His sentry gun may be the biggest asset to the team. There are a few others that we'll get to later that kind of give it a run for its money, but the sheer amount of damage that it can output paired with its perfect aim on enemies means that any who get close will quickly be eliminated, destroyed. Now if you're smart, you'd be thinking, oh man, where would Engineer get enough metal for his sentry? In fact, where would all of the mercenaries get enough ammo and supplies to even have a chance of surviving? And this is why I think Engineer may be the key. The only reason the mercenaries have a chance of winning, Engineer's dispenser. It can produce ammo, metal, and even health out of seemingly nothing but the power of friendship, as well as provide health to keep them going if they get injured. Teleporters, they're not as useful as the other two, but even so, Engineer with his tools, he would give the foes absolute hell. As with the next entry on our list, Heavy Weapons Guy, I genuinely think that his only weakness is his slowness and nothing else. The dude is a hulking giant. He's an absolute unit, and there's no other way of putting it. He's not dumb either. I mean, sure, he's not crazy smart like Engineer or Medic. He's not really super sadistic either. He's not absolutely insane, but he can be an absolute savage. He has incredible strength, being able to win knuckle fights against bears. Big Russian bears with full intent to kill him. In other words, he can more than manage to overpower a lion if one even managed to get close to him. which it's pretty unlikely because of his weaponry. In terms of weaponry, Heavy's minigun more than does the job. It could shred anything that tries to get close to him far before it ever reaches him. And while I believe that the stock minigun would do the job amazingly well, he could potentially use any other minigun, and I imagine it would make his job even easier. For example, the Natasha would help him slow down any approaching enemies, the Brass Beast would help him just wreck them even faster, things like that. And I mean, the Huolong Heater, we'll talk about that one too. Obviously, anywhere he's not aiming, he's still protected because they try and get close and they get burned. If you wanted to pick any mercenary to mess with, I would not recommend you pick Heavy. He will wreck your ass.
Behind me, Doctor!
Jawohl!
Charge me!
Ja!
So you're thinking, if you had to mess with the mercenaries, you'd pick one of the weaker ones. You'd pick Medic, right? Are you stupid? You would not want to mess with Medic. I mean, sure, he's one of the more questionable mercenaries. At first glance you think, what does he have to offer? Healing? The dispenser, it can already do that. But the more you think about what we know of the Medic from the game, the lore, everything else, the more I realize he would add a lot to the team. I mean, sure, he's not as strong as Heavy, he's got pretty average human speed, and he doesn't wield any insane weaponry like some of the other mercenaries, but his ability to heal fatal injuries in moments, paired with his Uber charge, would be amazing for countering any sticky situations the mercenaries find themselves in. Not to mention the Medic's incredible mind. Anytime the Medic isn't needed, I can imagine him experimenting on lions, probably making some crazy monster to fight for them, or giving the mercenary animal traits like claws, or making them faster or something. You think it sounds crazy, and you're right, it is crazy. This is Dr. Ludwig we're talking about here, and he is smart and insane as they come. Messing with him would be nothing short of idiotic. Oh, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but in the lore he actually brings people back from death. Killing him also won't do any good. Dude surgically implanted more souls into himself, somehow. He's able to use this to trick the devil into sending him back to life. Now, I wouldn't say he's immortal. I feel like sooner or later he will run out of souls, or the devil will get smart, you know? You can only trick him for so long. But I'd reckon that our beloved Medic has at least a few more lives in him, and that means killing him won't do you any good. Next up on the list is Pyro. I feel like he'd be decent enough against lions. He's not super weak in any way as I can really think of, but he's not crazy strong either. For one, flamethrowers in real life work nothing like they do in TF2. His flamethrower would have a hard time killing a human baby, even more so a lion with such a puny little poof of fire. Seriously, take a look at a real flamethrower from the World War II era. It looks nothing like it does in the game. But let's just assume that his flamethrower is effective against lions, like it is in the game. Even so, his range is kinda short. His damage, I mean, it's alright, I guess. We aren't quite sure how much health the lions have yet, but I'll get there soon enough. Pyro's kinda crazy, but he's definitely not dumb. He's able to run a successful company when he's not working as a mercenary. He could potentially do a lot of spread out damage though, because his flames are able to go around enemies and they do afterburn. So all in all, his damage could be huge if he sets many on fire. But I think his biggest strength wouldn't even be his fire, it would be his air blast. Especially when paired with a dispenser, it wouldn't matter how many lines got close, he could just spam it forever and keep them all away. Next up is everybody's favorite Frenchman, at least until he seduces our mothers. I hate to do him dirty like this, but he's not really that useful in this scenario. I mean, sure, he can go invisible, he can one-shot anyone from behind, and I mean, we aren't really sure how animal costumes, or disguises, my bad. We aren't sure how animal disguises work in TF2. I'd imagine it's basically just putting on a fursuit, considering that for humans it's as easy as like a flimsy paper mask, so Spy would just have to wear this fursuit to trick the animals. Spy's dagger isn't really, like, useless, but I mean, he's only gonna get a couple kills at a time. His revolver will get a few kills, because, you know, it's a gun, he can shoot from a distance. But again, all of his weapons are single target and they're not very fast. He's deadly for sure, he's just not really built for this scenario. I mean, for God's sakes, one of his weapons is a sapper. How useful do you think that's gonna be against a lion trying to claw your guts out? Sniper is definitely in a similar place to Spy. I would say he's in the same boat. Yes, he's definitely powerful, but he is a pick class. Against such large numbers, he's outclassed by the others. His best choice for a sniper rifle would easily be the Machina, since it can pierce, several enemies. On that alone, he'd be decent enough. I feel like an SMG would also be a solid choice since it's rapid fire. While his P does make bullets hit harder somehow, I'm not really sure how. Maybe it just adds extra emotional vulnerability. I mean, pain would certainly describe my existence if I was covered in his smelly ass piss. Or, God forbid, injected with it. However, I don't really feel like it's worth his time to use the Sydney Sleeper here, or the Jar of Piss. I've also seen my fair share of documentaries, and if there's one thing I know about big cats, it's that throwing piss at them isn't going to discourage them. And if Girardi is smelly, like it's rumored to be, he's more likely to just make the cats really horny for his juicy Australian booty. Soldier, on the other hand, he's got a lot going for him. Not only is his rocket launcher, explosive, so he can damage tons of lions all at once, he can also reach high ground and get good angles from above. Not to mention, he's quite tough and he's quite crazy. I'm sure they could slash his belly, and even with his organs coming out of his stomach, he'd still give them hell. Now sure, he is pretty slow physically, and mentally to be quite frank, but he's more than smart enough and fast enough to kill many lions. There is one final thing, and I think this would make him potentially the strongest asset to the team, aside from maybe Engineer. I know I said the sentry gun and the dispenser were invaluable, but I also think that it has some contenders, and he is one. Let me explain. In the lore, Soldier devoured a bottle of Marasmus's Kill Me and I Come Back Stronger pills. And I don't mean 1 or 2 servings, no, he ate the entire freaking bottle. What I'm saying is, you can kill him, but he's just gonna come back stronger and stronger. You keep killing him, eventually he's gonna come back strong as Goku. And then if you keep killing him, he'll come back and he'll be absolutely unkillable like Saitama. See what I did there? Oh, and unfortunately for Heavy, he will come back with the Riz of Saitama too, and probably seduce Heavy's other sisters. Last on the list is our boy Jeremy, the Scout, but I wouldn't say he's the least. His power level will fluctuate, and that depends on how you want to look at it. I'll explain. So, there's 2 different ways we can look at this. We can look at his speed in the game sense, where he's just kind of faster than everyone else, but still within the range of human. And then you can look at it in the lore perspective, where he's a lot faster than a human could actually be. So according to the wiki, in the lore, Scout can run at 155 kilometers per hour, or 96 miles per hour, which is clearly really freaking fast. But in game, he's not that fast. He runs at about 400 hammer units a second, a hammer unit being about a 1/16 of a foot. All in all, this means he only runs 17 miles an hour in game, which isn't really that fast. For the sake of giving him a fair shot though, I am going to go with the lore on this one. It's more powerful. I feel like it'd be more fair considering his odds. Obviously, nearly 100 miles an hour means he can easily maneuver around the lions and be in and out quickly. His scattergun is quite powerful, and he would blow big holes into the lions. He wouldn't take them out in huge numbers like Heavy or Soldier, but he's definitely gonna fare better than Spy. He might even make his dad proud. His support items would obviously help, but they are pretty self-explanatory. However, I feel like his support items aren't as useful as they would otherwise be. They're not really built for this kind of scenario. His Mad Milk isn't very useful considering that Medic and Engineer are just right there. They're going to be together, they're going to be fighting together, so health is going to be an easy thing to come by. His Bonk isn't that useful since he's already more than fast enough to maneuver around all of them. He's already fast enough to get behind them. He has double jump. He can just jump over them if he wants to get behind them. So yeah, his Bonk isn't very useful. His Mad Milk isn't very useful. He's going to want to stick with probably the Winger. Might help him get some extra air. But yeah, all in all, if you thought that our boy Jeremy was the weakest mercenary just because he's skinny, you are dead wrong. Between his speed and his savagery, he could give the Flash a run for his money. And before someone says,
actually, Barry Allen is the Flash, and he would win against Scout because he's fast.
you obviously haven't seen the show. That dude loses to normal humans all the time. Scout would own Barry. Own him. Overall, I genuinely think the Tf2 Mercs would win this with flying colors. They are just crazy overpowered and can handle so many different threats. Any weaknesses one mercenary may have is more than covered by another mercenary. And I think it wouldn't be long before Medic gets with Engineer to make like crazy weapons or experiments on lions to make some monster to fight for them. He might even make gas to attack them with, which I mean obviously would kill the lions incredibly quickly. Also, Engineer would be able to build many sentry guns. In the game, you can't because of balance, but I think in a more real sense, Engineer is going to erect a ton of sentries. I understand that 1 billion is a crazy high number, bigger than you could imagine. They would be fighting for years. Even if they killed 10 lions a second, they would be fighting for over 3 years. Anyways, I hope this topic was interesting to discuss. If you disagree, please let me know why. I'd love to hear your takes. I wish more people would explore the potential of these characters, especially Valve themselves. I genuinely believe that this universe should have been expanded on more, but it wasn't. Anyways, that's basically it for this video. I want you to know that I took a long ass break. I was struggling with a lot for a long time, but for once in a long time as well, I feel like I'm getting my crap together. I do want to make better videos. My last ones have been absolute trash. The advice you guys gave me helped me out a lot though, so thank you for that. And to a couple of my friends, including Medi, I know you guys are going through a hard time right now, but you guys helped me out a ton. I don't think you're out of your depth because you guys are a lot smarter than me and you told me a lot of stuff that I needed to hear. So thank you guys for that if you are watching this. Anyways, to all of you, have a good day, good night, have a good whatever. I'll see you later now.